What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? I would like to welcome you all to another edition of Wayne's Perspective, where we operate in discipline, decency, integrity, and respect. I hope everyone is doing okay today. As for me, I had a good day, just a typical day, even though getting home was kind of a nightmare. I don't know about you all, but I can't stand being in traffic jams, especially when traffic jams leads you to get home within an hour, whereas your commute home usually takes less than that. And for those in the 804, you know about Interstate 95, so I don't even have to say no more. And me, I usually try to avoid Interstate 95 like the plague, but sometimes you have to take 95 even to get to the 64 interchange, going to Po White Parkway. So it was just a mess today. And apparently there was an accident. So I took a little detour, and even that detour had me getting home within an hour. So I'm here, about to get to this video. So other than that, like I said, I hope everyone is doing okay. Now, this particular video today, now normally when I talk about state politics, I usually try to focus on my state of Virginia. However, if there's something that's going on in another state, and it touches me in a certain way, I do have to talk about it. And in this case, we have to talk about the state of Tennessee and the bill that they passed just today regarding allowing teachers to be armed with firearms. Yes, you heard that right. Am I surprised? No. So what we're going to do today is we're going to take a look at an article on the Washington Post's website, and I'm going to get my screen shared, and we're going to get right into it. All right. And as you can see by the title, Tennessee passes bill to let teachers carry guns a year after mass shooting. Let that sink in for a minute. So what we're going to do is we're going to get right into this article, courtesy of the Washington Post. Credit to Justine McDaniel and Dan Rosenswig Ziff, and we're going to get to it.
This news story was written by Justine McDaniel and Dan Rosensweig Ziff. Tennessee passes bill to let teachers carry guns, a year after mass shooting. 1 year after 6 were killed at Nashville's Covenant School, Tennessee remains the arena of one of the fiercest debates over gun policy nationwide. The Tennessee legislature passed a bill Tuesday that would allow teachers and school staffers to carry concealed handguns in schools, one of the most divisive steps taken by Republican leaders in the year since 6 people were killed by a shooter at a Nashville school.
Now think about that for a minute. So there was a mass shooting in your state. 6 people were killed at a school. So this is the action that you feel you need to take. No, we're not going to do any responsible gun control. We're not going to do any of that. So this this is the course of action that you take right here. Let's continue on.
The House approved the measure as protesters shouted objections, nearly drowning out the proceedings with chants of "Not one more kid." At least one person was kicked out of the gallery by House Speaker Cameron Sexton, Republican.
Yeah, of course, that's what the Republicans do. But at any rate, and I'm sure most of you listening to this remember, but there was a point in time last year, shortly after this shooting in the Tennessee House, there was the Tennessee Three. Remember them? I can't think of their names up right off the top of my head, and I'm pretty sure that this article is going to get into that. And this is my first time reading the article, by the way. Once I got the notification on my phone today, I saved it because once I saw it, I knew that once I got home, I was going to do a video on it. So hopefully the article does make mention of those Tennessee Three, because if my memory serves me correctly, they not only did they stand up for what was right at the time, but the 2 men who were black men, they were basically kicked out of the Tennessee House, and then they had to be they were put back by I think there was a special election that took place for both of them, and then the woman who just happened to be white, they didn't dispel her, they didn't kick her out, but she still stood on the side of history for that. And like I said, I hope this article goes into that briefly. But if you don't know about that, just research Tennessee Three and you'll see what comes up. But we'll continue on.
The bill's passage, following earlier approval by the state Senate, marked another turbulent moment in the state's ongoing debate over firearms and school safety, as parents lobbying for gun control measures again came up against the GOP supermajority.
Now, see, that's interesting right there. So you got parents lobbying for gun control measures, but even the parents couldn't get through to the GOP supermajority. Think about that for a minute now. So that's crazy. So then you get to a point where you got to ask, did they even bother to listen to the teachers at all? Were the teachers able to get their points across in this manner? Just a lot of questions. But based on what I'm thinking about here is that they may have heard the teachers. Well, I'm sorry, they may have listened to the parents, but at the end of the day, it wasn't going to matter one bit because they knew from jump what decisions they were going to make. So we'll continue on here, man.
This is our reaction to students and teachers being murdered in a school, said State Representative Bo Mitchell, Democrat. Our reaction is to throw more guns at it. What's wrong with us? The push to arm
Exactly.
school staffers is one of the most expansive pro-gun steps taken by the state since the shooting at the Covenant School in March 2023, when a former student killed 3 students and 3 adults. Lawmakers have not passed substantial restrictions on gun use since the killings. They have passed other measures, such as requiring resource officers, that they say will bolster school safety.
Okay, now you can have resource officers, you can have additional security, that's fine, but you still need to have restrictions on firearms just to, add to that. It shouldn't be an either or thing. You need both. It shouldn't be either or in this case. But let's continue on because I'm going to be pausing it a lot, as you can see.
The Nashville tragedy set off a massive protest by Tennessee parents and others, and ignited one of the fiercest debates over gun policy in a red state in recent years, one that culminated in the expulsion of 2 Black Democratic lawmakers and drew Republican women into gun control activism.
And yes, that's what I was referring to, the expulsion of the 2 Black Democratic lawmakers. That's what I was talking about a few moments ago.
Tensions have repeatedly bubbled up at the state capitol since then. Senate leaders kicked a group of parents and advocates out of the gallery for protesting before the chamber's April 9th vote. On April 15th, about 250 Nashville high school students left class, according to a Moms Demand Action estimate, and marched to the Capitol. On Tuesday, protesters chanted, "Blood is on your hands," and "Vote them out" as lawmakers voted, creating a chaotic scene before state troopers asked them to leave the gallery. Representative Justin Jones, Democrat, one of the lawmakers who was expelled last year, was held out of order by his colleagues for filming with his phone on the floor.
Yeah, that's one of the 2 Black lawmakers, Black Democratic lawmakers, Justin Jones. Yep.
Lawmakers in both parties expect Governor Bill Lee, Republican, to sign the bill, they told the Washington Post.
He gonna
The
sign it.
governor's office did not respond to a request for comment about Lee's plans for the bill.
Now, you want to take a stance, you want to do what's right, veto the bill. That's all you got to do. But see, then vetoing it is not going to help anything because I'm pretty sure with the dominant GOP legislature in the House and the Senate in Tennessee, they'll be able to override the governor's veto. So you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. But I digress.
Under the legislation, the identities of school staffers who sign up to carry guns is known only to those who approve participants. That means parents would not be told whether their school opted into the program, whether anyone at their child's campus is armed, or whether their own child's teacher has a gun in the classroom, lawmakers said. Parents also would not know whether their child's teacher might leave the classroom to respond to a shooting during an attack.
Okay, so now looking at this legislation, okay, put this in the House of Delegates. If I were there right now and I'm putting on my future politician hat right now, I would not be in favor of any type of legislature like this. And let it be known right now, well, number one, see, my state has a Democratic House and a Democratic Senate. So I would be very surprised if they took up some legislation like this. But I can assure you that neither one of those branches of government in my state are not going to put any of this up for any type of debate. And if they did, even though I'm not in the VA House of Delegates right now, I would definitely speak out about that with the quickness because this type of legislation is unbelievable. Not only is it unethical and immoral, but it's secretive as well. I mean, look at this. You know, the identities of school staffers who signed up to carry guns is known only to those who approve participants, meaning parents will not be told whether their school opted into the program, whether anyone at their child's campus is armed, or whether their own child's teacher has a gun in the classroom. Parents also will not know whether their child's teacher might leave the classroom to respond to a shooting during an attack. I mean, this is crazy, man. But let's continue on.
Senator Paul Bailey, Republican, who sponsored the bill in the Senate, said
Of
in
course,
response to Democratic lawmakers' questions before the vote in that chamber that the confidentiality clause is relative to the element of surprise.
that's for damn sure.
Though many states allow teachers to carry guns in some capacity, just 4 have similar clauses, according to Gifford's Law Center, which tracks firearm legislation.
And let me say this right quick. So, if the Tennessee governor does sign this legislation, and I'm almost certain that it is going to be signed, just wait until other quote unquote red states going to see this as an idea and pretty much start adopting similar policies because the Republicans got to they got to copy the stupidest ideas and the most immoral ideas, no matter how bad they are. But what else is new?
State Republicans argued that arming staffers could deter shooters and would position a trained, authorized person in a school who could respond quickly to an attack.
There's so much that's wrong with that, but let's continue.
They predicted that some schools would use the law, probably in rural areas with fewer police resources, while any district that disliked it could ignore it. The legislation serves as another line of defense that would possibly ward off school intruders, Bailey said in an interview before the House bill passed. The House voted 68-28 after striking down various amendments proposed by Democrats and repeatedly warning spectators in the gallery to quiet down. Critics said the bill, which passed a month after the first anniversary of the killings, ignored the opinions of teachers and parents who don't want guns in schools.
You see that? You see that right there? Ignored the opinions of teachers and parents who don't want guns in schools.
They accused the Republican supermajority of favoring this step over stricter firearm laws that polling shows a majority of Tennesseans support.
And I'm gonna speak more on that at the end, but let's carry on.
Those opponents objected not only to the idea of arming teachers, which they said introduced risk into classrooms and created a situation ripe for accidents or misuse, but also to the specifics of the measure.
Exactly.
In a state with some of the most lax gun control measures and highest gun violence rates, they say the most effective way to prevent more shootings is to limit the number of guns on campuses, not increase them. Teachers don't go into the profession to learn how to shoot a gun and to confront a possible past student and possibly kill that student, said Kathy Barnett, a retired teacher and volunteer with Moms Demand Action who was in the gallery during the House and Senate proceedings. I didn't go into teaching to shoot anyone. The Covenant shooting upended gun politics in Tennessee, as some conservatives newly called for firearm restrictions in a state that has been historically averse to passing them. After Lee signed an executive order to strengthen background checks, he broke with fellow Republicans in calling for red flag laws and ordered the legislature to convene a special session on public safety. Lawmakers declined to enact significant legislation, swatting away proposals to remove guns from mentally unstable individuals and passing more incremental measures. The supermajority has left.
Hold on, y'all. Give me a second. This damn advertisement. What is going on here? Okay, let's continue.
Behind proposals that would require gun owners to lock up firearms and
Sorry about
increase penalties for adults when children access guns and injure or kill someone. Lawmakers have approved measures to make gun manufacturers mostly immune from liability in crimes involving their guns and require the state to track firearm deaths and injuries. The proposal to arm teachers came up last year, but had stagnated until this month. A majority of states allow teachers to carry guns, usually with permission from the school district, though laws vary widely. It is unclear how many teachers participate, according to the Gifford's Law Center. The Tennessee bill will allow school staffers to carry only handguns, and only in schools whose top administrators have agreed. Teachers who wish to do so would be required to have gun permits, undergo a background check and mental health evaluation, and take 40 hours of training annually. Those carrying guns would be liable if anything went wrong. Under the
Of course.
legislation, school districts and law enforcement agencies would be immune from any related claims of monetary damages, even if a teacher intentionally carried out a shooting or if a student was accidentally shot. J.C. Bowman, executive director of Professional Educators of Tennessee, said his statewide professional association viewed the legislation as poorly thought out. He
Of
planned
course.
to encourage its members not to carry guns because of the liability concerns. He predicted that educators may shy away from it.
And it's so much liability here, so much, and so much that could go wrong. But I'm going to save that towards the end.
I think school boards across the state are going to say no to it, he said. There's so many things that could go wrong. The
Exactly.
bill does not provide a framework for the state to track how many teachers are armed and where, lay out any protocol for dealing with a teacher-involved shooting, or establish requirements for storage of guns. Democrats also questioned whether the training would be enough to equip a teacher to confront a gunman who has a semi-automatic weapon. Bailey, the Senate sponsor, said bearing the liability would help ensure that only staff members who are prepared for that responsibility would apply. He said he had no estimate of how many teachers or districts might participate. There's a very low probability that even 0.1% of teachers would do this, said House sponsor Representative Ryan Williams, Republican, during floor debate Tuesday. Barbara Sloan, a 21-year-old aspiring teacher, disagreed. Bringing guns into schools only adds risk, said the Vanderbilt University junior and volunteer with gun control group Students Demand Action.
I agree with that. It's only going to make things
Sloan,
worse.
who works in a second-grade classroom as part of her studies, said she would be reluctant to continue pursuing her career path if school staffers were armed. We're all very tired of having to convince people to see us as more than human shields, she said.
Okay, and there you have it. So, I mean, it's crazy. So, like I said, I expect their governor to sign it, and even if he did veto it, with the majority that the GOP has in the House and the Senate, chances are they'll be able to override his veto, and it'll become law. But what else is new? And like I said, you know, there's so much that can go wrong with this because I mean, number one, you're gonna have the possible arming of teachers. And even with the opportunity to train and go through all of this, all of these additional steps forward, I mean, you have the possibility of teachers who never carried a gun or held a gun in their lives having to, take that additional training. And then what's going to happen if the gun just happened to get into the wrong hands? What happens if the teacher, if it misfires? What happens if they shoot someone accidentally? And God forbid, what happens if there's an unruly student and the teacher just happens to get the gun and decide to go into business for themselves or take the law into their own hands? I mean, think about it. It's so much that can go wrong here, and shame on the Tennessee House and Senate in this case with the GOP majorities that they have. Shame on them for doing this, and shame on that governor if he signs it, and shame on any other state who has similar legislation already on the books or threatening to pass it or bring it up for votes, whatever the case may be. Shame, shame, shame. And I end this video with this because I have none more to say because I'm not surprised, but it just irks your nerves knowing that this is the only action that they could take after a mass shooting. The response is to not make things safer, is to make things less safe. And then if they have another mass shooting, then what you gonna do? So so I'm gonna end this video with this question. So to the voters in Tennessee, shout out to y'all. To the voters in Tennessee, specifically the ones who keep voting Republican, are you going to take a stance, make your presence felt at the ballot box next time there are elections in your state? Or will you stay home and claim that your faith won't allow you to vote against the Republicans, but on the flip side, your anger will allow you to vote against the Democrats? So think about that. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to end it right there. If you like this video, let me know your thoughts. Let me know if you agree or disagree with the Tennessee's with the with Tennessee's decision to start allowing arming teachers. Pardon me. Just let me know your thoughts. Other than that, like I said, like the video, share, subscribe. If you're ready to become a member of Team Discipline, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And until the next video, y'all, take care and remember, the power of the mind is valuable.